Welcome back to the Purpose Producer Podcast. I'm your host, Georgia Dawkins, and this is season 4 of the Purpose Producer. Yes, I'm going to say it every time, okay? Because this is my favorite season yet. This season, we are celebrating Black boy joy, okay? I'm talking to Black men and boys of all different ages about how they define joy, how they cultivate joy, and how they spread joy, okay? Who loves to see a Black man smile? I know I do. And so my guest today is one of my friends from the Florida A&M University, Mr. Jaylen Christie. Jaylen Christie, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I am doing great, Georgia. Thank you so much for having me. You look great.
Thank, thank you, guys. And you can't see me, guys. If you're just listening, you're welcome. All right. Check out that YouTube video. Jaylen, I didn't even give you the full, robust introduction because you have so many titles. You are a national keynote speaker. You are a publicist. That's how I met you because you've been running the headlines and getting placements here and there. And now you have your own comic book. Oh my gosh. How does it feel?
It feels great. It feels great. I gotta tell you, Georgia. I have cried copious tears because this has been
Here
a
he go with
long.
the words, y'all. Here he go with the words.
It's so funny. No, it's been a long time coming, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
So look, I know that look, we're gonna get into the book in a second, but first I want to jump into defining joy. How do you, as a Black man, define joy? What does it mean to you?
Oh my gosh, now that is a good question. I know for me, joy is happiness. It's peace of mind. It is prioritizing mental health, which is something that I've been doing a lot of in 2023. I started in 2022 because I really didn't take good care of myself in previous years, to be quite transparent. But for me, joy is, really putting yourself first, looking out for yourself, prioritizing your health, getting good rest, getting good sleep, drinking lots of water, and minding your business. Minding your business. I think all of those combined together equate to joy. At least for me. At least for me.
Look, I want to jump all the way into that because I heard you say in an interview that you wanted to write this book 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but you just made time for it within the last year. I think that that's a word. That's going to preach to somebody, okay? Because a lot of us have dreams that we've been holding on to, but we don't make time for them. So talk to
Mhm.
me about how you began to make time for Stinkball Man.
Sure, Georgia, sure. So I think that you and I, we both met at Florida A&M. So, and then you and I mean, I kind of feel like we have the same background, similar backgrounds. So I work in public relations. I work in communications. So for a living, I work with a vast majority of different clients of different industries and different backgrounds. And while I have been immensely blessed in my career, and been able to work with different brands and whatnot, my job is very taxing. So there are a lot of times where when I get home, I don't have the energy to work on my own projects, my own endeavors, because I'm busy giving that energy to other obligations or other commitments or other initiatives. So sometimes I wouldn't necessarily have the energy left over to work on my own dreams. So in 2022, and I say this positively, I don't mean this negatively, but I kind of put a stop to that. In 2022, I prioritized myself, prioritized, some of my goals and some of my aspirations, and then told myself that this is going to be the year that I wanted to get my comic book completed, because
Yes.
it was a dream of mine. I wanted to have it done 10 years ago, quite frankly. I mean, if we be honest, it should have been done a decade ago. But life be life then, Georgia. Life be life.
Life is gone life, okay? If life don't do nothing else, if it don't do nothing else, it's gone life.
Don't do nothing else. So yeah, man, like 2022 was the year that I finally was like, you know what, Jaylen, let's work on you. Let's work on your own dreams. And it happened. God is good. God is
Y'all
good.
give it up for the Black man prioritizing himself, okay? Because we all have a Black man in our lives somewhere who we wish they would just put themselves out there, okay? Put themselves first. It's so beautiful to see. But my question
Yeah.
is, what are some of the boundaries that you had to put in place in order to make time to write your book?
Oh, you are asking me good questions, and I would expect nothing less from the Georgia Dawkins. So that's good question. Good question.
Y'all hear that good media
Uh,
training over there? That's Jaylen Christie, y'all. That good media training.
I'm here for you, my friend. I'm here for you. I think for me, it was, having to firmly decline other people's, needs and invitations, to do things for them. I was giving so much energy to other people and their endeavors and projects that they were working on and initiatives that they needed assistance with, but I wasn't having any energy left over for myself. So for me, I had to put those boundaries in place to say, no, all right, after 5, I am unavailable. And sometimes afternoon, I am unavailable because I need to work on me. I need to focus on me. I need to
Jaylen,
prioritize.
how dare you make time for yourself? How dare you use the words no?
And I'm gonna tell you something, Georgia. So one of my fraternity brothers really encouraged me. Like when I told him I was going to have a year of no, he was like, Jaylen, go for it. Like make it happen. Make it happen. You can do this. You can do this. So yeah, I mean, no is a complete sentence. All right. It's one word, but it's a complete sentence at the same time. All right. I don't owe you an explanation for why I'm telling you no. All right. No, it's not necessarily a negative thing. All right. It's just no. I can't help you. All right. And you need to be fine with that. So that's what my 2022 was about. And I have no regrets about it.
No regrets, okay? All results, okay? No
Mhm.
regrets. All right. So Jaylen, you are an author now, but a lot of people know you as a publicist. You know, you've helped a lot of people get their message out and their branding out in front of the masses. And now you're doing it for yourself. Talk to me about how you even got into publicity.
So I studied journalism at Florida A&M, as you know, because we were students together. And the plan, Georgia, was for me to either write for a newspaper or to either open my own magazine. But when I graduated, a few years ago, Georgia, few years ago, few years ago.
A little while back.
When I graduated, the economy was not doing well, so a lot of newspapers were laying off their staff, their teams, so to speak. And I prayed about it, and then moved to Orlando, Florida, unemployed, not quite knowing what it was that I was going to do. And a friend of mine said that she thought that I would be good at public relations. And I mean, obviously, I didn't study public relations. I studied journalism, but I feel like PR and journalism, they both fall under the communications umbrella. And when I was at
Those skills are
FAMU,
transferable. Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. And while I was at FAMU, while I studied journalism, my minor was theater. So I kind of figured, okay, this woman is telling me that I could be good at PR, with the theatrical training, I don't mind going on camera if I need to speak on behalf of an organization or what have you. And I landed my first job with a nonprofit, a major nonprofit here in Orlando. My boss, who was actually the hiring manager, her sons had both attended Florida A&M. So we had that connection and she liked that. And also to Georgia, and I'm sure you remember this, in order for us to have graduated from FAMU, we needed to have a portfolio, the capstone project.
Oh, yes. Memories.
Traumatic memories,
I just,
traumatic.
ooh, my heart just skipped a beat because you said the word capstone. Like, I just,
Yeah. So, the beautiful thing about that is that when I interviewed for the position, I had so many clips from my time as managing editor of the FAMU newspaper and my time with Journey Magazine at FAMU. So I had all these clips that I was able to take with me on my interview, and they liked that. And even though I did not have a public relations background, just like you said, those skills are transferable. They saw that, okay, well, Jaylen can write, so he's clearly comfortable interviewing people. So we'll give him a shot. And then I got my job. I got the job at that organization. And then from there, my public relations career just, it took off. I've worked for, several notable marketing agencies, and I've worked with, a lot of different industries and a lot of different brands. And I've been very blessed. I've won a lot of accolades. I've garnered a lot of awards. And even though my PR career has been great, so to speak, it was not what I set out to do. It wasn't, I never had a dream or an aspiration to
So
become,
you just kind of fell into a successful award-winning career.
and straight. Yeah, I fell ass backwards into a public relations career, and I don't regret it, Georgia. I do not regret it, but it was not the dream. It was not. I didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh my God, I want to be a public relations practitioner. I want to grow up to work in PR." That was not my goal. That was not my goal.
Sometimes
I had
it's not the dream, but it's a part of the setup for the
precise
dream. Yes.
preach, Georgia, preach. That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Look, I am so proud of you. You said that the main thing that I want everybody out there to hear is
Mhm.
Jaylen is a good writer. Okay. And so when we were in journalism school, it really didn't matter if you were studying PR, magazine, broadcast, graphic design. They did not
Right.
care. You had to write. You had to know how to tell a story. And you've been able to do that on so many platforms. So now that you're an author, how did you approach this story?
So how I approached it was so when I was a kid, I was an unapologetic nerd, which affectionately when you're a black nerd, you're now affectionately referred to as the blurred, all right? But I always owned my nerdiness. So as a child, I used to write and illustrate comic books. I would also write short stories, and then I'd share these things with my friends and my family members. So these were characters that I thought of as a child. I
Oh.
brainstormed and created the Brain Kids when I was in the first grade, and then I created Stink Bomb Man when I was in the third grade. And they were both, they were intellectual properties before I even knew what the term intellectual property meant.
Come on,
So
IP. Come on.
so I had the Brain Kids in their own stories, and I had Stink Bomb Man in his own stories. And then as I got older, I just combined them both into their own comic book series. So they were homemade comic books at first when I was a child, and then I always knew in the back of my head that one day I would, bring them to life and that God would help me do so. But I never knew how I would bring it to life. I knew the when was going to happen. I
Come
just didn't
on.
know
Come on.
how it was going to happen. But yeah, so these are, a lot of my friends and individuals that I've met, they're like, "Oh wow, like where'd you get the idea from? Is this something that you just thought up?" And I'm like, "No, these characters have been in my head for over 3 decades now. So they're just now finally making their debut." But friends of mine that, have known me from elementary school and middle school and high school, they've known these characters because I would, draw them and show them these characters. I had a friend of mine, Georgia, recently, Adam Jackson, whom I've known since the sixth grade. He reached out to me 2 weeks ago when he found out that my comic book was about to publish. And he said to me, Jaylen, if seventh grade Jaylen could see 35-year-old Jaylen, and the fact that you were able to bring your dream to fruition and make your dream a reality. So, and that hit home, George. I cried love tears, love tears.
Yes,
But
goodness.
yeah, that's how I approached it. I already had the characters, created and just, work to execute it, to bring it to life.
It's something about making your younger self proud. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, you didn't have a lot of black superheroes, except,
Yeah.
we had Power Rangers, like you said. But
Mhm.
we didn't have a lot of and Blank Man. Let me not leave Blank Man out because that Blank Man meant a lot to me.
Yeah,
Okay, that was journalism and superhero all put together. All right.
that's
But
right.
you're a good writer when you can communicate to any audience. And
Mhm.
so a lot of times they tell us when we're approaching like a newspaper copy or whatever to write for an eighth grader or
Yeah.
some, I think it's even younger now. But how did you approach a story to talk to this younger audience? You're in front of adults all day. How do you make that pivot to another audience?
That's a good question. So I do a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Clubs here
Aw.
in Central Florida. And then when I was handling public relations as the Salvation Army's full-time PR guy, they had an after-school program for disadvantaged and underprivileged children. So I'd spend my afternoons with kids there as well. So, and I love the kids. Jaylen loves the kids. Jaylen loves the kids. All right. But I think also what helped Georgia is this particular volume of Stink Bomb and the Brain Kids, which is about to come out. It comprises 3 different stories. One of those stories was written when I was a kid. I wrote it when I was a child. The only thing I did as a 35-year-old was I went in and updated it for a 2023 audience, but I kept much of the vernacular and the language the same because I'm going to preserve, my writing style from when I was, a child. So I think that, is able, I think it was great for, kids to be able to, relate to. And then in putting together the comic book portion of it, I studied a lot of kids. I earned my master's degree from UCF. Dr. Jennifer Sandoval taught us the value of holding a focus group so you can learn your target audience and, learn the language in which they use and how it is that they speak. So I had a few focus groups as well so I could nail the humor. And then after putting the comic book together, drawing it and writing it, I let a few friends of mine read it, a few colleagues read it, and then they gave me their feedback, some of which,
Come on, focus group. Come on, focus group. Okay.
and at the win it. I mean, at the win it. So based upon their feedback, I did have to tweak a few things because I mean, for anyone that knows me, Georgia knows that I am transparent. I am a little bit of a Bulgarian. All right. So some humor I had to dial back a little bit because my friends were like, ooh, Jaylen, that might be, for a 20-year-old or a teenage audience, but not quite for the children. So I'm like, oh darn. Like I
Look,
this.
Jaylen, your words are too advanced for me. I heard you do a local news interview and I had to go look at least one word up. So I just want you to know you in a whole nother space. All right. And I have a whole degree. I got a whole degree. Don't know what he be talking about. Just smile and nod. I'm a smile and nod.
That's so funny. So yeah, I did have to dial it back a little bit with some of the humor, but I think that we got to I was able to get it to a good place now to where it should be, acceptable by kids. And I tried to keep enough adult humor in there to where it can fly over children's heads. But if their parents were to read it, they'd be like, "Oh, I see what Jaylen did here. This is good." All right, so it's a balance. It's all about striking a fine balance, Georgia.
So it's a story for the whole family. And I
Yes.
think that is absolutely beautiful. I want to
Hmm.
say another thing. I think it speaks a lot more to your intelligence. You asking for help speaks more to your intelligence than your
Hmm.
vocabulary because
Oh,
you have to be willing and open to correction, to editing. And we know that as writers, there's always the editing. The editing is the most important part. So, like, have you always been this person who's open to feedback? Because a lot of people might be struggling with putting that thing out there because of what people might say.
yeah, yeah. No. So the answer is no, Georgia. No. The answer is no. I was not always open to feedback. Didn't Erica Badu say when she's like, keep my
Mhm.
and I'm sensitive.
About my shit. Okay, that's a
That's right.
direct quote.
Yeah,
Mhm.
damn straight, damn straight, damn straight. So no, I wasn't always open at first, but I think having going to FAMU, like those FAMU journalism professors, they gonna get you straight. I mean that when that red pen comes out, it's a serious matter. All right, so I think I had to adjust, and because I wanted my comic book to be successful, I had to learn how to become comfortable with receiving feedback. And it's all constructive. Like if someone's giving me feedback to, to perfect my craft or, to enhance it, or to, put a nice sheen on it, then yes, please give me feedback all day, all day, all day. But at first the answer is no. The answer is no. At first I was not open to receiving feedback at all whatsoever. But now I'm open to it as long as it's coming from a positive place and as long as it's constructive, then yes, you can give me feedback as long as the day lasts. I will graciously receive it.
What advice would you give to sixth grade Jaylen about who you are today? What would you tell him to prepare him?
I would say be authentic. I would say silence what society says and what society may deem as being normal. Because what is normal, so to speak? Sixth grade Jalen had a lot of shit going on, man. I think a 35-year-old Jalen could hop back in a or could hop in a time traveling DeLorean and go back to visit that guy. I think he'd tell him, to stay the course, stay focused, silence the voices in your head, silence, the haters, walk in your truth, be authentic, embrace
You're
your
saying this so casually, but I know that this is not the energy that you say these things to yourself. Like sometimes we have so much more conviction. Like in the moment, you got to tell yourself, like forget the haters. Like you're saying it very casually, but I know that in the moment it hits different.
Oh, it does. It does. Like, with Insecure, the TV show Insecure, my favorite scenes used to be the ones with Issa looking in the mirror and gassing herself up.
Mhm.
And I mean, quite frankly, there are times in which I've had to do the same thing. Sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves. Like I look at some of these other authors and comic book creators and illustrators, and I'm just like, wow, they've got their shit together. Like, who am
Mhm.
I, to, try to, compete against, them. But is it even a competition? I feel like there's a seat at the table for all of us, so it's
There's
like I have to
enough. Yes. It's more than enough.
precisely. So I have to tell myself sometimes, Georgia, Jalen, you are the shit. Like you good, nigga. Like keep moving, keep pushing. Like ignore what you think they may be saying about you, and handle your shit. So there are some times where I have to have those kinds of conversations with myself. Um, but I feel like as a 35-year-old, I'm a lot more confident than where I was as a child, and even Jalen when he was in his 20s. So I think the older you get, you start to gain a little bit more confidence.
I absolutely love who you were when I met you, and I love who you
Oh,
are today. I mean, thank God for social media that I've been able to keep up with you and all of the career highlights. And you casually mentioned that master's degree, but you're getting ready to go back to school for a
yeah,
PhD. Talk to me about that.
this is true. Yes, this is.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, I am earning a PhD in sociology later this year at the University of Central Florida. I'm really, really excited about it. Well, I'm excited and I'm also a little nervous. So equal parts excitement, equal parts nervousness. So a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. But I think that given the events of 2020 and everything that happened with George Floyd and his murder, and this new emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which by the way are not buzzwords, people. These are things that matter. I was inspired, like to take action, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. They fall under the communications umbrella. A lot of public relations practitioners are tasked with helping with DEI initiatives. I've been called in to help several companies with their D&I strategies and what have you. And in doing so, realize that I need to up my game because whenever I speak and give seminars on D&I want to know what the hell it is that I'm talking about. I don't want to get up there and be stammering over my words. So I decided, well, maybe I need to pursue a PhD. I thought about getting a PhD in communication, but I feel like journalism degree and master's degree in communication. I was like, maybe I should shift a little bit, pivot, and then sociology is the study of human behavior. And then I felt that directly ties into some of the DEI projects and things that I've been called in as related to DEI. So that is why I decided to look into earning that sociology PhD. So my topic of interest, rather my studies with the PhD will be all centered on diversity, equity, and inclusion, Black masculinity, categorically speaking, because
Okay.
I feel like I feel like this is my belief.
Black masculinity. Oof. I know
I
this
feel
gonna be
like
good.
I feel like Black women have it figured out. Like, I think that, I mean, everyone has trials and tribulations. And I know that Black women have their share of obstacles that they deal with. But I feel like when it comes to Black women, statistically speaking, Black women tend to have their shit together. Like, they can recognize, Black women typically recognize, okay, I'm not feeling well. I need to go to a doctor. Or, okay, I'm feeling this way. Let me go, book an appointment with a therapist. Like, Black women me. You all take charge, whereas with black men, good Lord, man, I don't know what
The
the issue is.
last to see the doctor, the
Yeah, it's
last
true.
to get some help, the
It's
last
true.
to ask for directions. Okay.
It's true. It's true. And black male suicide attempts are at an all-time high. They are at an all-time high. So I want to be of service and see if I can lend a helping hand. So that's the thought process behind earning this PhD in sociology.
I want to give you a PhD for the answer to the question, okay? Because what you just gave me was but a snippet of what you're about to study, and that's going to be your dissertation. I think that is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Look, you are Black Boy Joy, all right? You are a purpose producer. You are a man of many talents. What is it that you want people to walk away with after reading Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids?
Oh, hey, yes, yes, yes. Want I think my desire is, and Georgia, you and I, we talked about this a little bit earlier. And I've said this to, a lot of my family members and friends, but when I was a child, aside from Power Rangers, which is always diverse, Power Rangers has been diverse since 1993. All right. But aside from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, there weren't really a lot of superhero characters that looked like me. And I feel like, superheroes of color, characters of color were few and far between. And even if you fast forward to, what's happened recently with some of these, these Marvel and DC properties, even though there have been recent strides in terms of diversity, I do feel like there's still, little while to go. I mean, Anthony Mackie played the Falcon, which I loved, but at the end of the day, he was a sidekick to Chris Evans, Captain America. And Don Cheadle was War Machine, but at the end of the day, he was the sidekick to Iron Man. And yeah, we had Black Panther. We had Black Panther, which I mean, it was epic. Angela Bassett's nominated for it.
That was a
Or
long time coming. It's a long time
exactly.
coming.
And if memory serves me correctly, Black Panther is what, the 25th Marvel movie that they produced? Don't quote me on that, but I know it's up there. All right. So it took Marvel a while to get around to making that Black Panther movie. So to answer your question, I think that what I want people to take away from Stink Bomb and the Brain Kids is it's my desire that they see themselves reflected on the pages. Because even though Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids themselves, which are, three characters that, they are comedic, the series overall is filled with humor. But even though Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids are, unapologetically Black and brown, the other characters in the miniseries, they are diverse. I tried to cover, the dimensions of diversity. So the Brain Kids, Brittany and Jesse McBrilliant, their grandfather, Dr. Beaumont McBrilliant, is a proud and openly gay man. And he is walking in his truth. He's an award-winning scientist that is, saving the day and helping his grandchildren fight crime. Jesse's best friend, Riley, he's white. He also has two dads. Brittany's best friend, Fatima, is Muslim. Jesse has a crush on Elle Yamamoto, who's a Japanese American girl at James Baldwin High School, the school in which they attend. And her best friend is disabled. There's also characters with different body types as well. So I try to be as diverse as possible and really try to embrace, diversity. Because I mean, I didn't have that when I was a kid. The vast majority.
I feel like you had to collaborate with the kid Jaylen. You had to collaborate with yourself. You had to go back in time and get these stories, and then apply your DE&I research to the story. So it's really full circle.
Really full circle. I wish that there were characters that looked like me when I was a kid. And I mean, like, when I was a child, my mom would always take me to Walmart. We'd peruse the toy department. Every action figure was white. I mean, the vast majority of the ones that I saw, with the exception of Lando Calrissian, Star Wars character played by Billy D. Williams in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but his action figure was few and far between. Now you go to Target, you go to Walmart, there is more diversity, which warms my heart. But yeah, I mean, as my desire is, for little children to read, these comic books and say, oh, Jesse McBrillion is a scientist. Brittany McBrillion is an engineer. They're both Black. I can do this myself. I can do this as well. So I'm hoping that it has that kind of positive impact on readers.
Man, you're inspiring me. You're inspiring a whole new generation. And I definitely hope to see this animated on TV one day. What is
Well,
your yeah, what you gonna say?
Georgia, you're a good person. You really are a good person. Thank you. You have so many positive things to say about me. But every time I see you, friend, on social media, you are killing the game. All right. So I am really just trying to follow in your footsteps. But thank you, Joy. I appreciate your kindness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, friend. I'm so glad you came today. Do you have any words of advice to the Black boy nerd out there who is maybe struggling to walk in his authenticity? What words of advice do you have to him to show up?
I would say be yourself. Who else is better qualified? Own it. Tune the haters out. Own it, own it, own it. Walk in your truth. Be authentic. Focus on your dreams. Dedicate a little bit of time each day to making it happen. And by all means, do so. Do so. Do so. I know it can be hard. I know it can be hard. I feel like sometimes I feel like things are getting better, and other times I wake up and I'm just like, oh God, given, I'm not trying to get political, but I mean, I do live in Florida. There's a lot of shit going on in Florida right now.
Child, that's a whole nother episode. That's home for me.
That- That's another episode. That's another episode. So yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes, but embrace it. Embrace your nerdiness, embrace your individuality, and by all means, keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Look, Jaylen Christie, award-winning publicist, scholar, okay, and author and illustrator of Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids. You guys be sure to support him. Jaylen, tell us where we can get the book.
Sure. And thank you for asking. My book is available on my website, jaylenchristie.com, JaylenChristie.com. It will also be available at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com as well, but we're starting out on my website first. And for individuals that are looking to learn more about Stink Bomb Man and the Brain Kids, and they want updates and news surrounding the miniseries, please follow me on Instagram at the Superfly Nerd, because I'm always updating my Instagram regarding news concerning the comic book.
All right. Congratulations, Jaylen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.